News. I usually do the segment. I'm going to do a bigger segment right now. So, let's talk about the world news. Woman held over 8 child deaths in Australia. A woman has been arrested on suspicion of murder after the deaths of 8 children in an Australian home. Queensland Police Detective Inspector Bruno Asnikar said that the 37-year-old woman was currently under guard at a hospital in the northern city of Cairns. She is the mother of 7 of the children found dead in the house. The 8th child was her niece. Police had said now how the children died, but Mr. Asknar said they are examining several knives in the house that they may have seen the weapon used to kill the children. The woman was also found in the home with the children suffering from stab wounds to the chest. Mr. Asknar said she is lucid and talking to police. Mr. Asknar said the children ranged in age from 18 months to 14 years. Pretty awful to hear. So, I don't really know much about that story. Only first I've heard it is right now. Let's go on to talk about something else. Japan hit by a 5.9 earthquake. A 5.9 magnitude earthquake has hit Japan's Honshu Island, shaking from Fukushima, where crippled nuclear power plants are located. Local media said that there was no tsunami warning. A spokesman for Tokyo Electrical Power, who owns the nuclear plant, said no irregularities have been found at its Fukushima plant. So we've all heard about the other sort of earthquakes that have hit Japan in the past, and something this doesn't seem to be very major. But you gotta be on the warning, because this one is something that you have to look out for, and it only just got uploaded, so they don't know too much about this. But it's good to keep aware of this sort of stuff, and it's good that they can record it and research this stuff. So next one is Russia dismisses sanctions and reaffirms its right to Crimea. Russia has dismissed new US sanctions as useless and underscored its historic right to the Crimean Peninsula. Following several rounds of sanctions earlier this year, President Barack Obama on Friday approved new restrictions on Crimea, which Russia annexed in March after a hastily called referendum. The Russian Foreign Ministry said today that the new sanctions won't push Russia to give up Crimea, since it is a historic and integral part of Russia. The ministry referred to Cuba, where it took the US half a century to restore diplomatic relations, and said it was prepared to wait as long as necessary for Washington to relent. Obama's orders today prohibited US companies and individuals from exporting or importing any goods, services, or technology to or from Crimea. Israel bombs Gaza terrorist site. Israel's military has hit a Hamas site in the Gaza Strip in its first airstrike on the Palestinian territory since the summer's war. The military said that the strike on what was called a Hamas terror infrastructure site in the southern Gaza Strip was in response to a rocket fired from Gaza into southern Israel yesterday. The rocket fire caused no injuries. Palestinian residents reported hearing 2 explosions in Khan Yunis region of Gaza, in an area that contains training sites from Palestinian militants. No injuries were immediately reported. Israel's army spokesman, Lieutenant Colonel Peter Lerner, said Israel's military will not permit any attempt to undermine the security and jeopardize the well-being of the civilians of Israel. The Hamas terrorist organization is responsible and accountable for today's attack against Israel. The Gaza rocket attack and Israeli retaliation comes days after a European Union court ordered Hamas removed from the US terrorist list for procedural reasons, but said the bloc could maintain assets freezes against Hamas members for now. So yeah, that's the certain news in Israel for today. Same as feared Batman massacre over the interview threats. This load up. Load, please load. Reload. So, breaking news, everybody. We got that breaking news. Pretty intense. Now we're going to talk about how the interview was blocked from cinemas all across America. I think they all decided the interview, this new movie about featuring North Korea, how Seth Rogen and James Franco are now targeting North Korea for they're sent out to kill the leader Kim Jong-un, who's the actual leader in real life. I think it's kind of insensitive towards North Korea. A lot of people think that North Korea are being way too difficult, which is true, and they're thinking that they're being terrorist struck by the movie by America, which is made in. So Sony being hacked by North Korea, and the movie was now removed from theaters. There's also news stories coming out about the reasons for this and how everybody just backed out, and now it's moved. I think this movie didn't do too well in terms of critical reviews. Maybe I've checked one source, it said 100%. Another source said 50%. It's sort of in between those. So the interview which came out, this new movie that's now being all debated on what's going on, subject matter involved. And now a new other movie with Steve Carell, which was planned for production, called Pyongyang, is completely scrapped. Steve Carell tweeted about this and said that he was very disappointed and bummed that he couldn't do this. So we're not really sure on what his opinion is. He might get an interview with him or whatever. So yeah, that's sort of world news that I'm talking about at the moment. Any other news out there? When a group claiming credit for the hacking of Sony Pictures Entertainment threatened violence against cinemas showing their interview earlier this week, the fate of the movie's big screen life was all but sealed. Even though police did not deem the threats credible all the time, owners in Sony undoubtedly considered the 2012 massacre of dozens of people in cinema in Aurora, Colorado. The attackers came without warning, and at the time there was no precedent for such mass violence against the US movie audience. The cinema owner contends it could not have foreseen the bloodshed, but it still faces 20 lawsuits over the mass shootings, and survivors and victim families asserting should have been done to protect those who went to see a midnight showing about film The Dark Knight Rises. Experts say the defense used by Cinemark Holdings could not use it if violence broke out at showing of the interview. It wasn't worth the risk, says Eric Wold, a film exhibitor analyst with B. Riley & Co. Despite the legal liability, at least one notable lawyer disagrees with the decision to cancel the interview. US President Barack Obama said it was a mistake for Sony to scrap the film, and he wished executives had consulted him first. We cannot have a society in which some dictatorship some place can start imposing censorship, he said. Some Hollywood notables, including Rob Lowe, Steve Carell, and director Michael Moore, have also criticized Sony's decision. Diplomatic and creative considerations aside, scrapping the interview was not a huge financial consideration for the cinema owners, who would ultimately be responsible for any lawsuits over violence. So, pretty wonderful how people all just backed out. Not wonderful, but anyway. Yeah. My opinion on this whole thing is that it was probably the right decision on cinema executives' own ideas, and I guess any cinema would have its own opinion on this, and they all sort of seem to follow each other on the same sort of overall decision. It would be weird if it was in one cinema and maybe in a whole bunch, not in a whole bunch of others. So I think it was probably the right decision. I guess if they felt it was unsafe and unclear whether everyone agreed on this, but a lot of people disagree, and I'm just gonna say, put it to rest, guys. Just move on from this, and I think if it doesn't need to be in the cinemas, it can be online or whatever. So yeah, Obama criticizes Sony for their film choice, but we're gonna have to get past this. Next, Pakistan kills 77 militants and hang 2 more after Peshawar school massacre. Authorities in Pakistan have hanged 2 convicted militants in the first executions following the reinstatement of the death penalty in the wake of this week's Peshawar school massacre. 2 officials in Pakistan state television said the executions were carried out on the central city of Faisalabad. There was no official confirmation of the executions. Following the school massacre on Tuesday by Taliban militants, we saw 148 people killed. The 2 government reinstated the death penalty on Wednesday. Pakistani jets and ground forces earlier killed at least 77 militants in the northwestern tribal region near the Afghan border. A Pakistani prosecutor also said the government will try to cancel the bail granted by the main suspect in the 2008 Mumbai terror attacks, a decision that outraged neighbouring India and called into question Pakistan's commitment to fighting militancy. The violence at a school in Pakistan's northwest area this week stunned the country and brought cries for retribution. In the wake of the mass killing, the military struck targets in the Khyber tribal region and approved the death penalty for 6 convicted terrorists. The military said a ground force killed 10 militants on Thursday night, while airstrikes killed another 17, including an Uzbek commander. Another 32 alleged terrorists were killed by security forces in an ambush in Tira Valley in Khyber on Friday as they headed towards the Afghan border, the military said. On Friday morning, troops killed 18 more militants during a cordon and search operation in Khyber, the military said. The military said the Army Chief General Rahif Sharif was travelling to Khyber to meet troops taking part in the ground operation. Yeah, so pretty major stuff happening over there in Pakistan. I know Malala Yousafzai is sort of talking about this as she gets her awards. She's from there, that part, and I think she has kind of to do with this as well. So yeah, thank you guys for watching this one. I know it's a really short podcast, but I'm kind of in a rush to do stuff today, and I may have another one up longer soon. Thank you guys for watching. It's been TV Vision 1, and I hope you enjoy this podcast edition for Christmas time. So don't forget to subscribe, favorite, like this video, and comment below, and most importantly subscribe. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys later.